All right. Hey, good morning, everybody. I'm glad to have you joining me here for the first of the Monday morning HI sessions. So this will be 30 minutes to improve your human intelligence skills as well as shake up your brain, get ready for the week ahead. Thanks for joining me here. We'll do a few of these and we'll see how they work out. And if they're good and bring value, then we'll keep doing those. I'd also like to say thanks to Rebecca DeButz, who's helping us out with the technology today. So if you have any problems hearing or anything with Zoom itself, send a chat to her and we'll work through those. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to spend 10 minutes learning about humans. Today, I'm going to be talking about intrinsic motivation. Then we're going to spend 10 minutes talking to a human, John Cassano, who is the CEO of Strike Labs. But more importantly, he's been working recently on COVID-19 and turning himself and his team towards connecting hospitals and suppliers. And then the last 10 minutes we'll spend connecting with humans, sort of a speed round of networking. So I've already spent about a minute, so we'll go ahead and get going. Here's a question. I'd like you to write down the answer if you're in a place where you can safely write. The question is, if you were not limited by time or money, what would you be doing with your life? Where would you be? What would you do? How would you spend your time? So just take a second to write that down and I'll pause while you do that. All right, so put that aside and we'll come back to that in a minute. But first, I want to tell you a quick story. So I spent a lot of time last year driving between Washington, D.C. and here in Birmingham, Alabama. And along the way, I decided I wanted to see some different things because I was seeing the same stuff all the time. So I have this little roadside app, a roadside attraction app that points me out to interesting things along the road. And when I heard about this place, I decided I would go check it out. And this place is called the Fortress of Faith. And as it turns out, in 1993, the guy you see, or actually a much younger guy, representation of that guy there, was 43 years old. And he decided that he wanted to leave his mark here in the world, just like the rest of us. He was unmarried. He never did really very well in school, but he was always very smart. He thought about these weighty topics, about the meaning of life and about gravity and about how we all fit together here on this world. But he decided that he wanted to make sure that people knew that he had been here. And his name is Junior. So his mama named him Floyd, but not even she called him that. Junior was the name that fit him, even at 43 years old. And Junior decided he wanted to build a castle. He wanted to build the biggest thing around in this town of Greenback, Tennessee. It's in the hills just south of Knoxville. And it's not too outrageous for him because Junior actually had spent some time taking sort of found objects and building homes in this little hilltop village in Tennessee. In fact, he built about 14 of these homes during his time there. So he decided that if he built a really big castle, he could maybe even attract a wife and people would know that Junior Banks was somebody. So he decided to get started. Now, there was no Home Depot around in Greenback, Tennessee, but he didn't need a Home Depot because there was essentially a demolition depot right down the hill from him. So the state of Tennessee was widening Highway 411 between Maryville and Madisonville, and they bought up all the property on either side of the highway, and they were going through with bulldozers and demolishing everything. So at night, Junior would drive down and he'd pick up gently used cinder blocks and glass and bricks, and he would haul them back up to the hill where he was building his castle. So he did this for a year, and then 2 years, and then off and on for 5 years, until one day it hit him. And it wasn't a brick from these 20-foot tall walls. Junior heard, when you hear him tell the story, he heard the voice of God. And God said to him, Junior, now see, everybody called him Junior. Nobody called him Floyd. But said, Junior, you're building this castle for yourself and for your own ego. And you shouldn't be doing that. And to hear Junior tell the story, he says that God told him he wanted to build the castle so it would be like an earthly representation of the miracles of God. And it would play a role in the final days. So Junior, instead of looking forward to finishing his castle and attracting a wife, now he was building for a higher purpose. So Junior decided that he would continue building. And in fact, he started seeing in the plaster that he had put on the walls, and you can sort of see the face that's right there. He started seeing the plaster cracking in a certain way so that he could see the face of Jesus and the face of the apostles. And Junior continued to build. And even today, he's still building. So if you're ever just south of Knoxville, you can drive down to Greenback, Tennessee, down there along Highway 411. And as long as Junior is breathing, he's still going to be building on that castle, because he's not working for an extrinsic reward that other people would give him. He's working for his own higher purpose. And that's the difference between intrinsic motivation and extrinsic motivation. When our motivation comes from within, we are more productive, we're more creative, and we're more resilient. When you're working for an extrinsic reward, you stop working when the work is finished. But if it's an intrinsic reward you're looking for, the work itself is the reward. The more we do the work, the more we want to do the work. And that's the same motivation that fueled Edison, the Wright brothers, Maya Angelou, Booker T. Washington, Steve Jobs, Gandhi, innovators all around the world today. So the question is, what is fueling you? What is the fortress that you're building? So take a look at the paper where you wrote down your answer there. And if you're like most people, your answer boils down to really some combination of these three things. Psychologists say that we're intrinsically motivated essentially for just these three things. Imagine that, all the people in the world and all the dreams in the world, and they really boil down to some combination of the search for autonomy, mastery, and connection. So when I've asked this question dozens of times, and when folks answer, some folks say, well, I do nothing, or I just lay on the beach. And that's really saying that they want the autonomy to be able to make their own choices. Other people would say that they would write a novel or turn their hobby into a craft. And that's absolutely mastery. But so is serial entrepreneurship. People who are working to start a business because that's what drives them and they're good at it, not because they need the money or want any fame, but just the problem solving aspect is something that really internally motivates them. Other people choose to feed their community or teach children or start a nonprofit. And that's really people who are driven by connection. But what does this have to do with creativity? Well, Teresa Amabile, a Harvard researcher who spent her entire career studying creativity and how to make yourself and your teams more creative, say that people need three things in order to be creative. The first is they need expertise. You can't be a creative brain surgeon unless you have some knowledge of brain surgery. The second, you need some basic creative skills. These are just the skills to come up with lots of ideas, sort through those ideas, and then begin to implement them as you find out what's going on. And then the third one is intrinsic motivation. And she says that intrinsic motivation is the most important of those. Why is that? Because being creative means embracing failure. No good creation story starts with, well, I had this great idea, I tried it out, and it worked perfectly the first time. Creativity is a series of failures that people learn from. And intrinsic motivation is the power that keeps you going through those failures, to learn from those failures and to try again. If your boss tells you what to do and exactly how to do it, you go try to do it that way, and it doesn't work, what do? You come back and say, well, it didn't work. What else do you want me to do? But if it's something that you're intrinsically motivated to do, you just figure it out. You find a way to make the problem go away by solving it. So how can you implement this knowledge into your own work and into the work of your team? Well, there's a few basic ways. Some of them are fairly obvious. The first is let folks make their own choices about the work they do and how they do it. Your leaders have to define the destination, but let the people who are doing the walking choose the path. Match your talents to the tasks. Know your teammates well enough to be able to give them the opportunities to demonstrate mastery. But the third, and the most important, is to connect them to their higher purpose. And it doesn't have to be building a castle or hearing voices from the heavens. There's a story they tell at NASA where during the race to the moon and to be the first people to set foot on the moon, NASA and President Kennedy did a good job of telling people that going to the moon wasn't just something that came down to a good idea, that it was something that was actually important for all of mankind, for the first people to be on the moon to be Americans, so that it was there with a banner of peace and freedom rather than a flag of conquest. So the story goes, Kennedy was walking out of NASA one day, and it's late one evening after he's received some briefings, and he passes by a custodian who's there cleaning the floors, and he stops and he says, well, hey man, why are you here so late mopping the floors? And the custodian looks back at him beaming and says, Mr. President, I'm not mopping the floors, I'm putting a man on the moon. And when you can connect people's daily work to that higher purpose, you get access to their intrinsic motivation, that motivation that will continue to have them come up with creative ideas, even despite this a virus pandemic or spiraling unemployment or people hoarding toilet paper. We need access to those creative ideas now more than ever, and intrinsic motivation is the way to do that. So we should now have on with us John Cassano. Let me double check and make sure that we are going there. And John Cassano is the CEO of Strike Labs. And all right, so it looks like John is not here with us. So we get a chance to do some improvisation. So let me start with this. I would like to ask someone if they'd be willing to share what they wrote down as the thing that they were intrinsically motivated to do. If you would like to, there we go, got some hands coming up. So let's go to those folks and we'll go right to Trish. Trish, you're on, you're allowing you to talk.
Okay, great. It's kind of funny when you asked us to write this down because I wrote 3 things down. Great. And then after you said the categories that they fell into, I was like, well, look at that. They sure do. So the first thing I would do is raise birds. I used to, as a side gig, raise little baby cockatiels, and it was very rewarding. The second thing is traveling, and the third thing is writing. So the mastery would be the raising birds, the autonomy would be traveling, and the connecting would be writing.
Awesome, good. So it looks like you hit all 3 there. Great, thank you. Let's go to Daniel. Daniel Gomez.
Yeah, so the same thing, exactly along the lines as Trish. You know, I've always wanted to make my own theme park where people could connect
Awesome.
using my skills that I've in scenario development and storytelling and stuff like that. And then go to the Bahamas when I want to.
Yeah.
So it's a combination of all 3. That's exactly right.
Great. All right, let's go to Tiffany.
All right, so I would like to master the Spanish language. I've been studying Spanish, self-study for years, probably since college, and I always get stuck somewhere. So I just want to master that.
Good. All right, so let's go to Stephen. Go ahead, Steve. You're off mute.
Oh, I'm here. Okay, great. So I initially wrote down the same thing, was, sitting on the beach earning 20% at the risk-free rate. But in reality, when I thought about that a little bit more, there was much more on the autonomy side to me, because what I really wanted was to be a little bit more self-sufficient in terms of energy consumption, food growth, solar electricity, simplicity of life, fishing and food preparation, to do that, to not necessarily require the same dollar outlay for the same sustenance that I had. And it really came down to another factor was, people say, if you had unlimited money, if I had $1 million, what would I buy? It wouldn't be a car or a house or a plane, but honestly, I'd want a personal trainer who is also a dietitian chef who would shop, acquire, and prepare the healthy foods that I want to eat. But then again, I thought about that intrinsic motivation. What's stopping me from becoming that person myself, given a certain amount of financial security? So there you go.
Great, awesome, thank you. And we'll go to Kelly.
Hi, I would like to master growing food, specifically growing food indoors. I like urban gardening and urban farming, and I'm pretty close to getting there already. And also, so for mastery, just, being able to grow lots and lots of food, like indoors in a very controlled environment. And then I also want to be actively actively working on smarter communities. So in that way is like if you're in a particular neighborhood or apartment complex, just being able to handle waste processing, access to basic necessities
Good
like at a
news,
very
guys. The Blue
micro
Angels are
community.
flying tomorrow.
There you go. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
Okay, so just smarter communities at a micro level. So like individual, like apartment complexes, individual like suburban neighborhoods, putting a greenhouse in there, putting childcare in there, and just having like smarter communities.
So why
And that's it.
does that motivate you? Why does having the smarter communities be something that makes you want to do that?
I mean, it's a happier way to live. It's when you take away certain worries, like where am I going to get childcare for today? Like it makes a huge difference on your quality of life. So like, or like if all you have to do is walk downstairs to get food, to get breakfast, versus having to go across town or get groceries delivered. If you remove some of those basic worries, it really enhances your quality of life, especially for older people or work. Actually, for anybody, it makes no difference whether you're a parent or you're retired. Just removing some of those like basic worries.
Awesome.
By having it dealt with at a micro community level.
Good. Okay, we have time for one more. Rebecca. Rebecca, go ahead.
Sure. Hey, I couldn't find my little hand, so so much for me being the expert on this. So I would absolutely love to have a farm and rescue animals and foster children. I just like have this dream of like one day being able to have this revolving door of kids in and out of my house of all ages and rescuing animals and having a garden. Like that's what I want in life. I just feel like because I can't help it everywhere I go, I stumble across animals that always need to be saved. So that would just be such a cool thing to be able to do like all the time.
Awesome. Very good. And Nate has his hand up. We'll do one more. Go ahead, Nate.
So, and I'll make it quick. I am interested in anything that will change our present course to something that's more resilient and more inclusive for everyone. And I think we have some incredible opportunities in spite of our current situation to do exactly that.
So I think from our previous conversations, you have an interest in sort of farming and growing food as well, right?
I have interests in everything. Yes, agriculture is definitely something I'm interested in. Veteran employment is another thing that I am very interested in, and then anything to do with renewables and where everything ties in. I see it as a very, very important role in national security. Just to make it quick.
No, that's right. So I appreciate it. Thank you. So if you're looking for more information on intrinsic motivation and sort of how it works, there's a great book by Daniel Pink called Drive. And in that book, he highlights sort of the same things that we talked about here, those same basic motivations, but he also has a great story about how this. If you're eating chips, you can hit mute for a second. So it's, so he had told us a great story about how this applies not only to humans, but it also goes into primates as well, and how they gave these different puzzles to monkeys, and they planned on rewarding them with raisins if they solved the puzzle. And after a while, they found out that the monkeys before the test sessions would stuff their cheeks full of food already. So they were going to get a reward whether they solved it or not. And what they realized was the monkeys weren't solving it for the rewards. The monkeys were solving it because they simply wanted to know how it worked. The same as us, trying to establish that mastery, trying to figure something out is something that's a deep innate drive inside of us. And when you can connect people to a job that allows them to get some autonomy, to be the master of that subject or whatever that question is, or to connect with other people, you're able to link up with their intrinsic motivation. So great. So that's that 10 minutes. Now in this last 10 minutes, I had prepped some folks to give a brief introduction of themselves. I said 2 minutes each, so we'll see. I think we may have space for a couple others. What I'm looking for is who you are, where you are, what you do, You've already talked about what motivates you, but the type of folks that you'd like to meet. And then if you don't mind, you can put your email address in the chat, and that will get it out to folks who are looking to connect with you. So I'm going to start with Donna, coming off mute.
Hi, good morning, everyone. So as Dan was talking about the expertise and the creativity and the motivation, and he asked what we would do if essentially failure was not an option or we had all the money in the world. And so my three things, or my thing was to share the gospel, if you were, of the 7 habits of highly effective people, to which I was introduced when I was a young officer, struggling to kind of find my way, and stumbled across this material and completely planted a seed of transformation in my life that was just lifelong and has driven me ever since. And I would also connect with others and travel the world. So to that sort of end, I am currently in actually my brother's house. I found out that while he's in Sweden, I have a vacation home, if you will, that I can get away to. So I am here in Orlando, just reflecting on that very question, and have made the decision to go forward and do just that, and start to share that in any way I possibly can. So I'm really looking.
Who are you looking to meet up with?
Say again?
So who are you looking to connect with? What types of folks?
Yeah, I'm looking to connect with people who are kind of in the middle of their lives and confused about what it is or what directions they want to go in, and who want to focus on what's important to them. The content that kind of drives me is that, the Happiness Lab, and I just want to pull all of these things together to help people restructure and reprioritize what it is that they want to do in their life, so that they can connect with their higher purpose.
Perfect.
Find that autonomy and be more successful.
Sorry, I'm trying to do a strict time schedule to hit it right at 30 minutes. So put your put contact information in the chat, and people can reach out to you to connect there as well. We'll go to Stephen next. You sort of told us what motivates you. Tell us a little bit about what you do and the types of folks you want to connect with.
Yeah, Stephen, I'm a former Army officer, primarily working around the DoD and the IC space in telecommunications and infrastructure on the enterprise side. So most recently, the last few years, I've been helping some small businesses and primes in the SBIR space. Been pretty successful at it, but I don't find it very rewarding. It's quarter to quarter, very transactional, and once one is done, we move on to the next one. And for me, that's not very fulfilling. So I'm like to find a full-time home, maybe with a single client, either in DoD or the Department of Energy, around renewables and infrastructure. And the reason I want to do that is I don't want to have a transactional relationship with people anymore, where it's just for business. Where can I put my education and background to use in a more meaningful relationship on longer term problems, in the 18, 24, 36 month cycle? That's it.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you. I see you have your contact information as well as your LinkedIn there as well. So we'll go to Kelly. You've already told us a little bit about yourself and what you do. So what are the types of folks you want to connect with?
We currently have an indoor farm, so we're looking to connect. We're brand new, a startup business. We're looking to connect with people that already have a healthy lifestyle to help us develop our subscription box. So before we embark on educating people who don't already know the nutritional value of things like microgreens and fresh products, we want to connect with people who are already sort of counting their protein. They're already, they're looking for natural and fresh instead of supplements. We want to give them like something live and fresh to add to their diets. So athletes, people who are accustomed to already, healthy lifestyle, already accustomed to a high nutritional standard. Those are the people that we're looking to connect with right now.
Awesome. Thank you. And then it looks like we got time for one, maybe two more. If you would like to do a quick introduction, you can raise your hand as well. And now I'll go to Rebecca, and she can tell us the types of folks that she's looking to connect with.
That's a really good question. I should have really thought about this. I needed more than 30 minutes to think about it. So my intrinsic motivation has nothing to do with the type of people I'm going to connect with on this type of professional level, unless they are social workers when it comes to fostering or animals. I'm an idea person. I really like hearing from other people, and I really like exploring different creative ideas. With human intelligence, I consider myself an entrepreneur. So being able to help others create a strategy for their small business, for example, or starting their own small business, because I like getting creative. So I think that it could apply to a lot of people. I don't know. You guys tell me. I need to talk to Donna.
Awesome.
There's my pitch. Hit me up.
All right, thank you. So we'll go back to Nate. Nate, who are you looking to connect with?
So my name is Nate. I live in Manassas, Virginia.
Looks like we're losing you a little bit there, Nate. Okay, I'll tell you what, we're going to pause Nate. We'll come back to him, and we'll go to Tiffany.
All right, so good afternoon. I am looking to connect with people like Kelly and also Donna. Number one, Kelly, my whole goal is to help my family. Can you guys hear me? My whole goal is to help eliminate the nutritional curse that my family has on, my family that I grew up with in Cleveland. Eating vegetables out of cans and things like that. They don't even know how to go to the grocery store to shop healthy. So I'm looking to continue to introduce that into my family. Is working on a slow level. So growing things in your home, I think that's such a great start. Donna, Donna, please, I have so many different ideas. I would definitely like to work with you to help put those things together. I know I mentioned that I wanted to master Spanish, but why do I want to master Spanish? Is because I want to show people in my family that you can study something, there's other things out there than this whole country. You can travel, you can be somebody. I want to show them that, and to be able to show them that I have to master it so they can see it on me.
Great, thank you, Tiffany, for sharing that. We'll go back to Nate. Nate, you broke up after you said you're in Manassas. We've got about a minute and 50 seconds left.
Oh, sorry about that. As far as who I'm interested in connecting with, anyone and everyone.
Okay, well that's good. So you saved yourself.
I keep my options open.
That's good. So you saved yourself some time there. So listen, I really appreciate the time that you have all put into this. It's 30 minutes. I hope to give you some good return on your investment in that 30 minutes. Please put your contact info in the chat to everyone. If you're interested in having folks contact you, I'll send out an email that sort of wraps up this to you. I'll also plan on posting the content later on social media as well as our website. So when you sign out, it'll take you, or it should take you, to a page on our website that gives you a quick 2-question survey that lets you say one thing that you liked about this session and then one thing that you wish were different about the session. And that'll help us out for next week, and let us know if you are still looking at doing this and if this is valuable to you. So we'll end. We've got about 50 seconds left. So thanks for your time. And here is my contact information as well as Rebecca's. And I appreciate you being here. Thanks.